Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Akhanda Mandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Yat Padam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Dear friends, the main object of Mission R.K. is to synthesize the knowledge given by the world teachers so that a new era of yogic culture may dawn. When I say culture, one should understand the difference between the two words, culture and civilization. In short, we can say that culture is for those who guide the race, and civilization is that which is accepted by the race. So civilization once didn't want education to women. Then the cultured people of the race fought for women's education, and now it has become a civilization. So this difference we should always remember when I use the word culture. Culture is the leaders who change the public opinion, and it is very difficult to change the public opinion. One of the foremost ambassadors of the masters, messengers from the adepts and gurus, is Madame Blavatsky, who gave, in the garb of Theosophy, the ancient culture, the wisdom of our rishis to the present day materialists and skeptics. That is, the civilization at the time when Madame Blavatsky entered the field, and even now, it is materialism and skepticism, anti-spiritualism, anti-godhood, anti-devotion, anti-morals, anti-values, which are controlling the society, even now. The most important thing in Theosophy is its timing. Around 1850, the world and planet Earth, and especially humanity, were in a great possibility. A great possibility was opening for humanity, but it did not know what to do and how to go forward. Then the masters utilized Madame Blavatsky. And remember always what they told about Madame Blavatsky. They said she is not a perfect instrument, but it is the best we can get. So what I want through the channels of Mission R.K. is to get the best mediums for the masters. For example, an engineer is a medium of engineering knowledge. Someone may be a very great engineer, means that he is a good tool. Someone may be an average engineer, meaning that he is not so good a tool for the knowledge of engineering. The same for doctors. One may be a very capable doctor, very successful. That means he is a very good tool for the knowledge of medicine, for the knowledge of healing. And one may be a very, very average medical practitioner, just making both ends meet. He is also a medium, but not a perfect medium. So this is the situation for the masters, around the mid 19th century, where they could not get the best mediums. But that is not to decry the qualities, the courage, the talents, the psychic powers of Madame Blavatsky. But what I want to convey is, if an average medium is so great, how great a medium we all can become. Theosophy in this way is nothing but the ancient Hindu religion put into the modern garb. Again, even though it is a repetition, let me tell you that Hindu religion is not only for Hindus. Let us be scientific about it, just as Newton's laws are not for Newton. It is universal laws. They were discovered by him. Dalton's laws or Einstein's laws are not of a particular nationality. They are universal laws discovered by them. And when we say scientific laws, it means they are universal laws discovered by certain people living in a particular country. But that particular man who visualized and understood or intuited the laws does not own them. It is not his laws, it is universal laws. Similarly, the Hindus have the credit of discovering the laws of life, the laws of mind. And therefore, when we call it as Hindu religion, it only means that the religion is universal, the faith is universal, the laws are universal, but it is the Hindus who first discovered it, and therefore we are forced to say it as a Hindu religion, that has the laws of motion, we are forced to say as Newton's laws. This concept should not be forgotten whenever you people hear my classes. Whenever I say the Sanatana Dharma or the Hindu Dharma, it is with this scientific aspect that I present to you the truths of life. Now, Madame Blavatsky, since her childhood, was guided by the masters. And whenever I talk about the gurus and tell them or tell some incidents in their life, always remember that they are also happening in your life. When we read about some scientific experiments that were discovered by Madame Curie, naturally you follow the same experiments in your lab. Similarly, when we talk about the lives of the masters, remember they are also happening in your life, even though you are not aware of it. Therefore, when I am talking about Madame Blavatsky, she was always protected from her childhood by an Indian monk, which she always used to see in a turban. Once when Madame Blavatsky was riding on a horse, she fell down and her legs were entangled in the stirrups, and she was certain that she will die, but somehow she felt that someone is carrying her, holding her, so that her head and body is not touching the ground. This type of protection we always get, but we are not aware of it. Whenever there is a fall or whenever there is an accident, we don't understand the seriousness of the accident. Had we known the seriousness of the accident, we will thank God and our protectors for the little hurt we have. So this is the spirit with which we should approach Theosophy, that we are all protected by the masters. That you are hearing this class itself is a proof that the call from the Himalayan masters, whom the Theosophists call as the adepts, the Sanat Kumara, Master Maurya, Master KH, and all other adepts, including the Mahachohan, are protecting us. It is their will and specified direction which has brought us to hear this. Be very, very, very clear about this fact. You are here not because you wanted to be here, but because you are forced to hear this. But the question is, are you ready to take up the challenge? Are you ready to take up this message and first mold yourself and then mold others? Just as a MSc, a postgraduate, first learns the subject himself and teaches it to others, almost making them equal to himself, and sometimes his students may be better than him. And maybe we will be better than Blavatsky because of our teachings, mind you. So the effect or the intention of Blavatsky is to fight the materialism, to tell people that there is something else than the physical world we are seeing. At her time, spiritual seances were at their height. People who are interested in spiritual seances, where people used to cluster around spiritual mediums, seeking information from their departed parents or friends or lovers. And the mediums were too glad to offer that assistance, of course, for a fee. Madame Blavatsky very clearly told the practitioners of these seances, the spiritualistic mediums, and those who went to that sessions, that in reality it is not the departed souls who are working out, but it is the pranks of elementals, the pranks of those field which we in Theosophy call as the third elemental kingdom. Later I will come back to this point. But whenever you find someone saying that God has asked him, God has chosen his body, and when you find some vibhuti or something miraculous events happening around you, remember they are certainly non-physical. But non-materialistic is not the concept. They are materialistic, even though they are not physical. So try to understand this difference first, what I mean by it, physical and material. If you take an example, ice, water are material. Physical, not material, they are physical. You can see it and handle it physically. But when go to steam, the another aspect of ice and water, but probably at a higher temperature. It is not physical because you can't handle it physically. If you put your hands through steam, it goes through it. But still it is material. So the pranks of the spiritualistic seances, where they used to get the messages from the departed souls or from the material levels, which later Madame Blavatsky clarified as the etheric levels of matter. Blavatsky underwent great hardships. She was physically very weak, though looks robust. And the way people treated her, morally, she felt offended, and that drained her energy. And throughout her life, she has to face serious diseases and serious weaknesses. But in spite of that, she could give us most beautiful works, mainly Isis Unveiled and Secret Doctrine. Along with that, she has also given us the Voice of Silence. And with Voice of Silence, the Theosophists are advised to read At the Feet of the Master and also Light on the Path, one written by Alcyone, the pen name of Jiddu Krishnamurti ji, and the other is by Collins. So today, in this particular discussion, I would like to a brief introduction on Secret Doctrine, Voice of Silence, At the Feet of the Master, and Light of the Path, as a tool to develop our spiritual talents. Now let me come to the secret doctrine aspect of Madame Blavatsky. Madame Blavatsky, almost in the fag end of her life, was given an opportunity by the masters whether she likes to continue with great suffering on this planet, with a deteriorating body, a body unable to eat or drink, continuously at pains, and still can she take the dictation of secret doctrine and can she give it to the world? Or they said, you have done much work, we appreciate what you have done, and we permit you to leave the body with Isis unveiled. That is enough. Blavatsky, see her courage. She said, I will continue. And then they allowed her to continue. And she did the writing in a great torture. For many hours, she used to fall on the ground with pain, writhing with pain. And again, after a few hours, she used to get up and write it. She could drink only a cup of tea sometimes for days altogether. With that pain and ill health, she gave us the greatest book which we can treasure, The Secret Doctrine. The Secret Doctrine was much before the times of the scientists. At that time, the scientists never believed in the Big Bang theory or the possibility of splitting of an atom. And both these she mentioned in Secret Doctrine, saying that matter is nothing but concentrated energy, crystallized energy. And later, Einstein's discoveries proved that matter is nothing but energy, and energy is nothing but matter. One is the one pole of that substance, and the other is the another pole. Spirit, one pole of matter, and matter, another pole of spirit. With this background, with this in our minds, let us understand that whatever is written in the Secret Doctrine, if we find it that it doesn't tally with our physical concepts, we are sure that later Madame Blavatsky will be proved correct. That is what Annie Besant and Leadbeater also found. Many times in their psychic researches, Leadbeater and Annie Besant found that what Madame Blavatsky wrote in Secret Doctrine is being contradicted. But they were very honest in their researches, and they used to write in their books that our research shows that this is to be the fact. But Madame Blavatsky has wrote in another way. But later, after 20 years, they corrected themselves and said that no, we were wrong and Blavatsky was right. Why I am asking you to remember these points is, there is a lot of confusion when people read Secret Doctrine. They say they don't understand it. They don't understand it because they need to understand it. If you understand it already, you need not read it. With this spirit, you try to understand Secret Doctrine. The Secret Doctrine is divided into two halves. One is known as the cosmogenesis, and the other is known as anthropogenesis. In cosmogenesis, Madame Blavatsky starts from the point where at the cosmos was not generated, it was in a laya state. Just as when we are asleep, we are also in a laya state. The world does not exist. We also don't exist. But still, the things exist. Similarly, she started with cosmogenesis. She started at first with the solar logos as a part of the cosmology. And then she shows that the solar logos creates this world so that this world can be a tool for his development, a tool for his evolution. So one of the basic concepts that Theosophy gives us is that all of us, not only the humanity, not only the planet Earth and the Navagrahas, but all the cosmos which we are able to perceive is nothing but the physical garb of the sun god, solar logos. The same thing is expressed in Gita when Lord Krishna says that imam vivasvate yogam proktavan aham avyayam vivasvan manave prahu manurichva kave bravit. This yoga I first gave to the sun. And through the sun it comes down, 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 down to the lower levels. And in the lower levels we find the planet Earth, molded as a great ball of fire. Slowly it cools down. And now we have this planet Earth with the external cluster of solid mass, but in the center, in the core of the Earth, it is a boiling fire. Which is what is meant by the Kurukshetra. We should remember, because when we are living in a society, when we are working as a president, or if you are a beggar, whether you are a small ant or an elephant, all of these lives are nothing but the need of the solar logos in his evolution. You are a part of his evolution. You just can't say, I won't do it. Suppose a particular cell in our body says, no, I want to be independent. What your body do? It will just expel it. Similarly, if you don't want to follow what the sun god's evolutionary needs of the present time want you to be, you will be simply expelled. That is what Lord Krishna said, Chipam ajasram ashubhan asurishveva yonishu. Those who are not compatible, those who are not tuned with this cosmogenesis, those who are not tuned with the solar logos need of evolution for himself, and the purpose of our creation is nothing but his need. This is what we should understand, that we are already a part of the solar logos, and that is what we mean when we pray to the Guru, Akhanda Mandala Akaram, Vyaptam Yena Characharam, Yat Padam Darshitam Yena, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So the basic concept of a Guru is not liberation. The basic need of a Guru for a disciple is not to solve his problems. But the basic need of a Guru is to teach him that he is a part of the great evolutionary being, which we in India call it the sun. The Theosophists call it as the solar logos, and Aurobindo calls it as the supermind. And Pujya Gurudev calls it as the Gayatri Mantra, the Gayatri consciousness. So cosmogenesis tells us that in great cycles of time, the four yugas following one after the another, the Krita Yuga, the Treta Yuga, the Dwapara Yuga, the Kali Yuga, each following in great cycles, probably extending to crores and crores of years, slowly the world is formed. And Blavatsky very clearly says that if one wants to understand the process of creation, one should understand the septenary nature of creation. Just as when chemists want to understand the behavior of the atoms, even though we have more than 92 or 112 atoms, 92 natural and the other made by science, they are grouped into very clearly into 7 groups plus the 8th group, which is known as the inert group. Therefore, just as the mineral kingdom, the atoms are divided into 7 groups, similarly, even the states of consciousness also are divided into 7 groups. The names given to them is, according to Theosophy, starting from the highest plane, the first is known as the Adi plane or the divine plane. The second is known as the Anupadaka plane or the plane without vestures. The third is the Atma plane, the plane of the spirit. The fourth is the Buddhi plane or the wisdom plane. The fifth is the mental plane. The sixth is the astral plane or the Kama plane. And of course, the last is what we understand as the physical world, the Sthula Jagat, the physical plane. Before we go deeper into these aspects, let us make it very clear what we mean by the planes. When I say these 7 planes, it doesn't mean that the planes are very clearly demarked. One plane fuses into the other plane. But we can be very clear about the planes and their nature. A physical plane, the most material sthula plane, the solid, and the most subtle divine plane, Adi, of the sthula plane, have something very much in common. But what is not common is the density. The formation of the physical plane is very strong and very near in the physical plane, whereas in the Atma plane, the first plane, the Adi plane, the divine plane of the physical, the matter is very much thrown apart. But still the matter can be seen there. But once you go to the next higher Kama plane, the qualities of the particles change. This we must understand. The planes are different, but they are continuous. And each plane has got its own very specific measures or qualities which are known as the tanmatras of that plane. So when we talk about the physical plane, its tanmatra is smell. So the nature and qualities of the physical plane are dominated by the measure of the ability to which you can smell. But we know that certain animals have a much better smelling power than us. So all of us who can smell are in the Prithvi plane or in the physical plane. But human beings have different tanmatras or measures of smelling. Other animals have different measures of smelling. Especially there are some flowers which emit some very beautiful smells, but unfortunately we can't smell them. Our range of smell is limited. In this way you should try to understand the planes. The physical plane is always related to smell. And if you can't smell, for example when you are having cold, that means your physical plane contact is cut. In the next plane, after the physical plane, we come to the astral plane. In the astral plane, the taste is most important. So the world of astral is controlled by tastes. And when I say tastes, it doesn't mean the taste of the tongue only. You have a taste for literature. You have a taste for religion. We in Sanskrit call it as abhiruchis. So all these which we term as tastes fall into the astral plane. So people may have different tastes, but they are living in the same astral plane. One may have a taste for something which is very hot, pungent. He also belongs to the astral plane. And one may have a taste for sweets. He is also in the astral plane. And one may have a devotion, a taste for divinity. He wants more and more divinity, he wants to read more and more books. So all these states fall into astral plane. So smell, physical plane. Taste or ruchi, astral plane. And then we go to the next higher plane, from below. We call it as the mental plane. And in the mental plane, the colors and form dominate. Your own physical form, naturally therefore means, is your mental creation or is a mental plane creation. This concept you have to remember, but again you have to remember that all these are interlinked. You just can't say that I will belong only to a particular plane. But a particular plane may be dominant. So in the mental plane, all this creation is in the mental plane because all this creation has forms. And whenever you talk about a form, rupa, it means you are talking about the mental plane. And then the visible sun, the planets, the stars, they also belong to the mental plane because they have a form. But what about fire? It has a form, but not a very clear form. So in fire, we have a very peculiar relationship where you have a form and you don't have a form also. Therefore, in Vedas, the Agni Sukta, which is known as the Vedadi Sukta, deals with the mental plane. Wherever there is a fire, remember you are talking about the higher planes of mind. This theosophy divides into two parts, the mental plane as the abstract mental plane and then as the concrete mental plane. When you use a word, remember it becomes concrete. Because when you use a word, it conveys a form. When you say a pen, even though it is a word, it conveys a physical, clear-cut picture of an image. But when you say love, when you say compassion, you are using a word, that means it is something concrete, but still it is very hazy. So these hazy concepts are what is known as Agni, fire. Agni means Agre Tishtati Nayati, which leads you being in the forefront. You have a compassion, that compassion leads you to do some great works of service. So, compassion is an Agni. You have a hatred, the reverse is the case. But anyway, it is an Agni because Agni means something abstract but which is very close to the concrete mental plane. Let us remember this division of the abstract mind and the concrete mind. Now we come to the next higher level, which is known as the Buddhi plane in India and the intuition plane in theosophical literature. And in this plane, we have the most perfect need of touch. The characteristic approach of this plane is touch. This touching may not be physical. If you can, we say you touch the great heights of mentality. We touch the great heights of spiritualism. Wherever you use the word touch, it indicates you are in the plane of Buddhi. And then we go to the plane of Atma. In this plane, it is the words, the sound which dominates. So, the most important thing which Theosophy has given to us is this approach towards the planes of consciousness. Where you are conscious of the words, you are in the Atmic plane. Where you are conscious of the touch, in its widest meaning, not only a physical touch. When you are able to touch a thing, a particular concept, it is also a touch. It belongs to the Buddhi plane. And when you are able to visualize it, when you can form a form of it, a rupa of it, you are in the mental plane. And when you can taste it, you are in the astral plane or the kama plane. And when you can really smell it, you are in the physical plane. So this concept somehow we Indians have also forgotten. The planes have a specific tan matras. Matra means measure, tan means that. So tanmatra means that which measures. So the physical plane is measured by smell, the astral plane is measured by taste, the mental plane is measured by visions and forms, and of course here in the mental plane we have the two divisions where the form is not yet formed and where the form is formed. And then we go to the very specific higher levels of wisdom, buddhi, where it is the touch which matters. And then we have the next higher plane, which is formed by sounds. These sounds are what is known as logos. So these 5 planes are what make the prapancha, our universe. That is why our universe is called that it is made up of these 5 things: the sounds, the touch, the rupa or form, the taste, and the smell. But we have 2 more states. One is known after the spiritual world or the Atma, what is known as Anupadaka. That is, it has no vestures, it has no clothing. And beyond it is what is known as the Adi plane. So when the solar logos wanted to create this visible universe, he started with the Adi plane. Now you understand the sweep of the Adi plane? We just can't visualize it. We just can't understand it. We can't put it in words. That is why, about which nothing can be said. That is what Madame Blavatsky writes of this plane. And slowly from that plane, the plane you always remember is a great sweep extending to God only knows to what areas. Then comes the second great area, the plane, which is known as the Anupadaka. And then comes the next plane, which is known as the Atma. Then comes the next plane, which is known as the mental plane. And then comes the plane, which is known as the Kamamaya plane or the plane of taste. And then we come to the physical world, which is known as the smell world. Why I am stressing so much on the plane is, a plane is not related to only one dimension of space. The physical plane, we may call it as having a sweep of 3 dimensions. So wherever in this great universe, how many light years far away it may be, if it is in the 3-dimensional world, it is in the physical plane. So the sweep of the planes must be understood. A plane is something very vast, but having a particular nature. Similarly, if you go to the taste plane, the astral plane, it is 4th dimensional. And whatever object in the 4th dimensional is, it is in the astral plane. Now that we have understood what a plane is, let us come to anthropogenesis. That is, the planes are now crystallized into a form of a man. This concept of interrelating a man with the cosmos is given in our texts as Purusha Sukta, but Blavatsky calls it anthropology, the formation of man. In the formation of man also, in the development of man also, in the growth of the man also, we find the same 7 subdivisions. That is why Madame Blavatsky says the greatest formula if you want to understand nature is as above, so below. So just as the solar logos has divided himself and put himself down into the 7 planes of consciousness, similarly the human being also comes down to this planet in 7 layers. We are not very clear about the Adi plane of the human being and the Anupadaka plane of the human being, except that Madame Blavatsky says this Anupadaka level of consciousness which descends into the physical matter in the form of a human body is the real consciousness of man. The body is only his vestures so that he can gain certain experiences. Just as the solar logos has delved into these 7 planes, we also delve into the 7 planes at the Anupadaka stage as monad. This monad comes down into the Atma plane, into the Buddhi plane, and into the mental plane. This is known as the Atma Buddhi Manas triad, or the higher triad, a triangle with its apex at the top. This Atma Buddhi Manas is nothing but the expression of the monad, or the Anupadaka consciousness of the human being, which to gain experiences has come down to the Atma plane, to the Buddhic plane, and to the Manasic plane. And these 3 points form the higher triangle, Atma, Buddhi, Manas. So for all practical purposes, we can take this Atma, Buddhi, Manas triangle as the ego, the center of consciousness, which to gain further coercer experiences comes down as a lower triangle of a mental unit, an astral permanent atom, and a physical permanent atom, forming the lower triangle with the apex downwards. And these mixtures of the 2 triangles, the Atma Buddhi Manas, the higher triangle, and the mental unit, the astral permanent atom, and the physical permanent atom, constitutes the clash of the lower mental with the higher mental. The clash of the lower triangle with the higher triangle. The clash of the personality with the ego. Here, when I say ego, it means the trinity known as Atma, Buddhi, Manas. So remember, when I call ego, I talk about the Jivatma, the higher triplicity. And when I say personality, I mean the physical body, the astral body, and the mental body. So the physical body is it clash with the Atma. The emotional body, the astral body is it clash with the Buddhi. And the mental unit is in clash with the abstract mind. It means, just as the formula as above, so below is correct. We have another formula in spiritualism, which a man should understand is, he is a bundle of energies, and energies can be controlled by thought. So the formula distills out to be a very simple one: energy follows thought. So, the Theosophy, the Brahmagyana, the Vedanta, the Tantra, the Upanishads, the Gita, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, always have this one basic concept which we have to learn, is that your thoughts are powers. Manaeva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayo. So it is the mind which makes you free, and it is the mind which makes you bound to a particular thing. This aspect, if you can understand, we have solved the problem of evolution. We can go straight to the point where we can start our evolutionary growth, and Madame Blavatsky says that at present the humanity, it is a particular juncture where anyone who is interested to know about this can follow it. Therefore, remember this particular thing, that our field of evolution is in the mind. You have to understand first the 4 levels of the concrete mind, and then you have to go to the 3 levels of the abstract mind, making the septenary of the mental plane. But before you can go into the depths of that particular plane, you are forced to cross yourself the physical and emotional plane. It doesn't mean that you should leave your physical body and that you should leave your emotional or astral body. It only means that you should so practice your mind so that the physical vibrations or the emotional vibrations are stilled at the time when you are concentrating your mental energies. So this is what is meant by the various spiritual sadhanas which we undertake. The most important sadhana which on the physical plane we have to do is to understand the pranamaya kosha. For this we should have a very thorough knowledge of the 5 koshas. The physical plane kosha is divided into 2 levels, the annamaya kosha and the pranamaya kosha. And one more important factor which we should remember at this particular point is the role that pranamaya kosha has to play in an individual's development, in an individual's evolution as a part of solar logos. Remember, the individual is only a very small cell in the great body of the solar logos. Therefore, the main duty of every individual is to concentrate how to be a part of the evolution of the solar logos, not his own evolution. A cell in the kidney, a cell in the brain, have different purposes. But if the cell in a kidney suddenly wants to behave like a cell in a brain, you can understand what havoc it does. Similarly, depending upon the nature of the actions, trying to understand the 4 concrete planes of mind, Lord Krishna says, Chaturvarnyam maya srishtva guna karma vibhagasya. So there, he was not talking about the physical bodies of the Brahminhood by birth, the physical body of a Kshatriya by birth, or of a Shudra by birth. No, he was not talking about that. He was talking about the mental qualities of the cells which are impregnated in those physical bodies. That is why Manu also says that by birth nobody has any caste. It is because of the samskaras that is called a dvija. And we have forgotten, we Indians have forgotten this truth. Unfortunately, we have started this caste division by birth, which was never advised either in Gita or in the Manu. It was only said that if you are behaving like an engineer, you are an engineer. If you are behaving like a doctor, you are a doctor. If you are behaving like a Brahmin, you are a Brahmin. If you are behaving like a Kshatriya, you are a Kshatriya. If you are behaving like a Vaishya, you are a Vaishya. If you are behaving like a Shudra, you are a Shudra. And remember once again that these 4 levels of consciousness in the mental plane, Chaturvarnyam maya srishtva, have their own qualities. When you want to serve, you are a Shudra. When you want to exchange, you are a Vaishya. When you want to protect someone else, you are a Kshatriya. And when you want to gain knowledge, you are a Brahmin. So the same individual consciousness, the same man having the same body, may sometimes be a Shudra, sometimes a Vaishya, sometimes a Kshatriya, and sometimes a Brahmin. But as we all know, that in the end, every man has got a particular orientation, a Swabhava. When we say a man is an angry man, it doesn't mean to say that he is always angry. It only means that he can become angry much quicker than us. So when you say a Brahmin, it means only that he is in a state of consciousness where he can learn much quickly than the other things. One who can learn quickly is a Brahmin. One who can fight quickly is a Kshatriya. One who is ready to exchange, to do business. You do this for me, I will do this for you, is a Vaishya. And who, irrespective of what he wants, is ready to serve and help humanity is a Shudra. So a Shudra is not a negative thing, because when you serve, if you remember that you are serving Narayana, that is the best way to reach this Godhood. Manava Seve, Madhava Seva. This also is very clearly explained by the books of Theosophy. Are you able to understand the greatness of Theosophy? First it says, we are a part of the solar revolution. We are all Suryavamshis, if you know it. If you are not a Suryavamshi, at least become a Chandravamshi. That means, even though you are not following the development of the solar revolution, you are a reflection of it. Moon, the moon's rays, the Chandra is a reflection of sun. Either you are a Suryavamshi or a Chandravamshi. That particular aspect of the above body becomes Pingala. The Pingala, the body is controlled by moon. So it all depends that sometimes you are living with the sun and sometimes you are living with the moon. It alternates. But the Sushumna, the most beautiful one, which Sushumna means very beautiful. The most beautiful aspects towards the approach of this yoga philosophy, Theosophy says, to be in the central path, which is neither the moon nor the sun, but an equimixture of both, a balance of both. This is the concept when we say Samatva Yoga Uchyate. You balance your Chandravamsha currents or aspirations, and you balance your Suryavamsha currents. The solar logos currents are the reflection of the solar logos to the moon's current. How to go about this is what is known as pranayama. So one of the easiest ways to approach the evolutionary consciousness is to concentrate on your breath. Be aware of how the breath is going in and how the breath is coming out. And when I say this technique, many people start practicing deep breathing. No, I am not saying you breathe. I am saying you observe your breath. Observation doesn't mean that you want to change the breath. Just see the breath. Feel it going inside. And you know when you feel the touch of it, in what plane you are? You are in the buddhi. So when you feel the touch of the breath going inside you through the nostrils, automatically you are in the intuitional plane. This we forget. We forget that when you smell the breath or air, you are in the physical plane. When you taste the breath, you are in the astral plane. When you see the breath, not physically, but you can feel the flow of the breath, you can see it, it is in the mental plane. And when you feel the touch of it, mind you, again I am talking about the touch of it, we don't understand the touch. We only understand touch as something, aqueous thing, that this is hard, this is pricking, and this is. But there is another touch which is known as the mother's touch. When a mother handles the baby, she is touching it with love. That touch, if you can feel it while you are breathing, and if you can feel the same touch coming out, that is what is known as the Sahaja Pranayama, is one of the easiest paths to understand the evolution. The details, of course, you can get from the literatures of Kriya Yoga, Paramahamsa Yoganandaji's, Shyama Charan Lahari's, and Paramahamsa Yoganandaji's book. But anyway, let us come back to the Theosophy. So, as above, so below, the sun and the moon, though they are supposed to be flowing in the Pingala Nadi as the sun and in the Pingala Nadi as the moon, they are established in our body as the right eye and the left eye. We have forgotten the use of eyes. Upanishads, especially those who deal with yogic practices, say that yato drushti tato srishti. So you can create just by seeing properly, mixing the right eye vibration, the left eye vibrations. This particular type of knowledge is what we get at the feet of the Master, Guru Charaneshu. And while we are talking about this anthropogenesis of secret doctrine, let me tell you one thing, that the age of right eye and left eye is what is known as the Viveka Vairagya. The eye of Viveka and the eye of Vairagya. Viveka means wisdom, the knowledge of the five senses. When a scientist gets them, and he wants to tabulate the knowledge he obtained from the five senses and creates a law, it becomes Viveka. So Viveka means understanding the laws of nature, not only the scientific laws, but the laws of the astral plane, the laws of the mental plane, and the laws of the buddhic plane, and the laws of the atmic plane. So this is what the right eye will do. And what the left eye do? It leaves itself. So it doesn't mean that even though you are attracted towards it, you leave it, but you leave it because you don't need it. Nobody advises you not to touch fire. You just leave the fire. The fire is left. It is not Vairagya, but a knowledge that if you touch the fire is harmful for you. So Viveka is understanding the laws of nature, and Vairagya is understanding that which is harmful. This is what we mean by at the feet of the Master. We have an inner Master who stays in the Kutastha, and that inner Master is what is known as the third eye, the fire in us. The third eye. After knowing this third eye, if we can follow the voice of silence as guided by the third eye, and if you can understand the light on the path, and you can understand the anthropogenesis and cosmogenesis, Theosophy has done its duty. So Theosophy is nothing but a process where you understand the laws of nature. You understand Viveka and Vairagya. You are able to hear the voice of silence, and you are able to tread the path of light. Jai Gurudev.